15 Things You Didn't Know About the Panama Papers. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome to another exciting original video presented by Alux.com. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. Today we're revealing some interesting and surprising facts about one of the largest data leaks in history, the Panama Papers. The Panama Papers are so named because they are comprised of more than 11 million documents that were connected to the Panama law firm Mossack Fonseca. The documents were originally leaked in February 2015 to a German journalist named Bastian Obermeier, who works for the German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung, otherwise known as SZ. Bastian was overwhelmed by the volume of documents, so he enlisted the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists to help him analyze the documents which detailed the operations of the law firm. After more than a year of analysis, the first news stories about the Panama Papers were published on April 3, 2016, along with 150 of the leaked documents. The people named in the documents included billionaires, world leaders, sports stars, and actors, and many of them had faced increased scrutiny, suspicion, and even prosecution as a result. The Panama Papers touched every corner of the globe, and the repercussions continue to be felt worldwide. So, let's take a closer look now at this scandal with the 15 things you didn't know about the Panama Papers. Number 1. Nobody knows who leaked the documents. Well, actually, we're sure somebody knows who the leaker is, but they definitely are not speaking up about it. The person who originally leaked the documents to German journalist Bastian Obermeier remains anonymous, even to the journalists who worked on the investigation, and is simply referred to as John Doe. He wants his identity to be kept a secret because he fears his life is in danger. He claims he leaked the documents simply because he understood enough about their contents to realize the scale of the injustices they described. The only clue the whistleblower gave was that he never worked for any government or intelligence agency. Number 2. Half of the offshore companies named in the Panama Papers were incorporated in the British Virgin Islands. A total of 214,488 offshore entities were named in the leaked documents, and 1 out of every 2 of those were incorporated in the British Virgin Islands. Now, some of these companies were run legitimately, but the vast majority were shell companies set up as tax havens or were used for other, less than legal purposes. The owners of these companies included politicians, sports stars, billionaires, drug smugglers, and mafia members. Other popular offshore locations are Panama, the Bahamas, and the Seychelles. Number 3. Over $2 billion in transactions were conducted by associates of Vladimir Putin. Although Putin himself isn't mentioned by name in any of the documents, his close associates were connected to over $2 billion in transactions identified by the leak. Although many people accused Putin of being directly involved in the illegal transactions, the Kremlin dismissed the accusations as a series of fibs aimed at discrediting Putin ahead of the election. Number 4. Over 140 politicians worldwide were named in the leak. Just 3 days after the public reports of the Panama Papers, the Prime Minister of Iceland, Sigmundur Gunnlaugsson, stepped down from office as it had been revealed that his wife owned an offshore firm with big claims on the country's collapsed banks. The Prime Minister was not the only politician affected either. At least 12 current and former world leaders were named in the papers, along with 128 other politicians worldwide. Another prominent politician named was Argentina's president, Mauricio Macri, who was investigated for failing to disclose his link to the offshore company Flag Trading Limited, located in the Bahamas. The president denied any wrongdoing and said he was cleared by the Argentine courts in September 2017. The president of the United Arab Emirates, the president of Ukraine, and the president of Saudi Arabia were also directly linked to offshore accounts. Number 5. It was the largest leak in history. The leaking of documents has become much more common in the digital age, but the Panama Papers has the distinction of being the largest leak in history. A total of 2.6 terabytes of data were included in the leak, which is about 1,000 times more data than was included in the WikiLeaks disclosures in 2010, which only equaled up to 1.7 gigabytes worth of data. Number 6. Over 400 journalists from 80 countries were involved in the investigation. When Bastian Obermeier reached out to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, or ICIJ, for help in sifting through all of the information, he helped to build a network of over 400 journalists from more than 100 media outlets in 80 countries to work on the project. These included reporters at the BBC, The Guardian, and Le Monde in France. The truly amazing thing is that none of these reporters jumped the gun and reported on any findings until the agreed-upon date of April 3, 2016, after more than a year of investigating. Number 7. The data dates back to the 1970s. Although half of the 11 million documents were emails, some of the information dates back to long before the internet was widely available. The leak was comprised of nearly 4 decades worth of documents, including emails, hard documents, PDFs, images, and databases. The vast majority of offshore accounts included in the documents were established between 1990 and 2008, when the global financial crisis hit. Number 8. 29 of the people listed on Forbes' Billionaires list were included. It's not terribly shocking that billionaires would be connected to offshore companies, but this doesn't mean that the 29 billionaires included in the leak were particularly excited about being connected with the scandal and the increased scrutiny that followed. It's important to note that offshore companies are not illegal in themselves, but most countries have made it illegal to use such companies as tax havens or as fronts for other illegal actions, like siphoning public funds or money laundering. Number 9. Mossack Fonseca announced in March 2018 that they're closing. In their official response to the Panama Papers leak, the law firm Mossack Fonseca claimed that their work had been misrepresented and that they conduct due diligence on potential clients, routinely denying services to those who would act illegally. Shortly after the leak, police forces from Panama, Peru, and Salvador conducted a raid on the local offices of the firm, and the investigation is ongoing. In March 2018, the firm announced that they would be closing after 41 years of business as a result of the damage that was done to their finances and reputation by the Panama Papers leak. They also blamed the Panamanian authorities for them shutting their doors. Number 10. Lionel Messi was sentenced to 21 months in prison in relation to the Panama Papers leak. Argentine footballer Lionel Messi is one of the most popular and successful athletes in the world. Forbes has him listed as the 4th highest paid athlete with an income of around $74 million per year. And he was the most high-profile sports star caught up in the controversy of the Panama Papers, being accused of setting up various shell companies to avoid paying taxes on his income. In July 2016, he was arrested and convicted of 3 counts of tax fraud by a Spanish court. He was fined €2 million and was sentenced to 21 months in prison, although he won't actually serve jail time, as non-violent offenders in Spain sentenced to less than 2 years rarely are incarcerated. If you want to find out some more about the football star, click on the upper right-hand corner to watch our video, 15 Things You Didn't Know About Lionel Messi. Number 11. Mossack Fonseca was the 4th largest provider of offshore services when the scandal broke. Mossack Fonseca was founded as a law firm in 1977, but in the early 90s, the majority of its businesses were focused on the handling of offshore accounts. At the time the scandal broke, the firm acted for about 300,000 companies and was the 4th largest provider of offshore services in the world. Over $11 trillion in private wealth has been channeled out of home countries into offshore accounts as of 2015. The primary locations where these services are offered include Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, the Bahamas, the British Virgin Islands, and the Channel Islands. Number 12. The law firm has handled around $2 trillion for their clients. In their 40-year history, Mossack Fonseca has handled around $2 trillion for their clients from more than 100 countries, with most of the corporate clients coming from Hong Kong, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, Luxembourg, Panama, and Cyprus. They have worked with more than 14,000 banks, law firms, and incorporators to set up companies and trusts for their clients. Number 13. The family members of government officials from 32 countries were named in the leak. Although many political leaders kept their own name out of the documents, they still came under scrutiny due to their family members being named in the Panama Papers. In many of these cases, it was believed that the leaders benefited directly by using their family members' names to cover their own dealings. Leaders that fall into this category include Chinese President Xi Jinping, the Spanish royal family, former UK Prime Minister David Cameron, former UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, the President of South Africa Jacob Zuma, and King Mohammed IV from Morocco. Number 14. Panamanians petitioned to have Panama removed from the name of the leak. The people of Panama were largely very unhappy that their country's name was associated with such a scandal. A number of people petitioned to have Panama dropped from the name of the leak and asked to be referred to as the Mossack Fonseca Papers leak. Of course, this never came to fruition, and after the release, there was really nothing that anyone could do about it. The damage had already been done. Number 15. Jackie Chan was the most famous movie star listed in the documents. Hong Kong martial arts film star Jackie Chan got some unwanted press when his name surfaced as a part of the Panama Papers leak. He was found to own at least 6 companies that were managed by Mossack Fonseca, but the ICIJ specifically wrote in their report that there was no evidence that Chan used his companies for improper purposes. Now that you've learned some more about the Panama Papers leak, we'd like to know, do you see it as a major infraction if people use offshore companies to pay less taxes? Let us know what you think in the comments. Still here? Here's a bonus fact just for you. One country that played a notably small part in the leak was the United States, with a very limited number of US citizens being named in the documents. It's been determined that this is largely thanks to the greater possibility for secretive banking within the United States. In Delaware and Wyoming, for example, anonymous companies are allowed to be created to shield wealth. The US also has increased their penalties for illegal offshore accounts, which makes tax havens wary to deal with Americans. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxer. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. If you want more, we handpicked these videos you might enjoy, or head over to Alux.com for the best in fine living content on the planet. Be a part of the largest community of luxury enthusiasts in the world and tell your story.